If you're into quiet, folk-based horrors, The Damned is now available. It's atmospheric and cold, but is it effective? A 19th century widow has to make an impossible choice when, during an especially cruel winter, a foreign ship sinks off the coast of her Icelandic fishing village. This thriller stars Odessa Young, Joe Cole, Rory McCann, and Siobhan Finneran. Now, immediately within the presentation, you can just feel the bitter cold that these fishermen live in. They're in some very remote area of Iceland, with huge, towering spires surrounding the inlet, or maybe it's the bay, that they fish in. We also learned very quickly that the location is treacherous, not only from the freezing temperatures, but also the unpredictable and dangerous tides. Fishing, it hasn't been great for this group, and their supplies are running dangerously low, which of course then hampers morale. One day the group is loading out to fish. They see a ship way off in the distance that is sinking, and Odessa Young's character Eva, being the owner of the fishing boat and responsible for her crew, makes the tough decision not to go and help for fear of putting her men in danger and then draining their resources even more than they already are. Now, when some supplies from the shipwreckage wash up on shore, the group decides to venture out towards the wreck and see if there are any other supplies they can grab. And that's when they encounter the unexpected. Some survivors who have miraculously stayed alive on the freezing banks where the ship went down. And this surprise encounter leads to some devastation, which then kicks off the entire folklore superstitions that are leading to us to the horrors that we watch play out. Now, from a setting perspective, the film is shot beautifully, capturing the massive scale of the mountains and the desolate emptiness of the surroundings. And thanks to the endless views of white snow, it's hard not to begin to feel the cold yourself. And it looks like a miserable experience, like you'd never be able to shake off the frozen feeling, always having your feet and toes and then any other extremities always stinging with the sub-zero temperatures. And it's important we feel this way because the weather and temperature, they are a character within the story, playing a sort of unseen adversary that complicates just about any action. Now, I love how the superstitions play out in the dread that builds. Siobhan Finneran's character believes there is a set of rules that must be followed in order for any of the dead that washed up on shore not to be able to come back to life and then haunt or maybe torment the fishermen. And things like binding the bodies with rope, putting iron nails in their feet, even turning the coffin around several times just in order to disorient the spirits. As she recounts these beliefs to the others, a small sense of fear mixed with skepticism weaves its way through the psyches of the fishermen, taking hold in some and then having others just simply laugh it off. Thanks to the beginning setup, though, of the lack of supplies, starvation begins to influence mindsets and visions. Combined with isolation, the dread and despair brought on by the decision not to help the shipwrecked, and then the belief that a haunting could occur, this sets up some very creepy and unsettling visuals that really work to set me on edge and make me want to nope right out of the story. Now, the story itself unfolds in a very patient and quiet manner. It's not slow, but it is building. It's only 89 minutes, and as things begin to go awry, the anxiety grows, as does the imagery, and it creates a real sense of terror. This uses the less is more approach, using shadow and mist to set up frights. We then see the world from our character's perspective, never truly sure if we actually saw something or if it was just a figment thanks to the tense setups and then the swirling thick fog and darkness. Now, this is one of those movies that you don't want to be distracted while watching because so much of the fear that's created is from the subtle visuals. There are many tense dialogue-driven scenes too, but it's the silent, creeping moments that establish the most chills. And thanks to all of the uncertainty we see, I loved how each of the characters processes this in drastically different ways. There's sometimes a threat of collective hysteria or maybe delusion, but individuals also rationalize what's occurring in very different ways. Some try to explain it away. Some wholeheartedly believe the superstitions, and others are just simply trying to make it through the night without attempting to solve any questions other than how to survive. Now, there is a certain repetitious nature to some of the story elements, having characters experience the same sort of frights again and again. And while some of this does work to stack on the urgency of decision, it also risks veering into tedium as we see the same occurrences just in different locations. Now, this is a bleak story, but the character interactions become strained and dire, presenting a sense of realism for their situation. And as I said, how this patiently builds, once things start, they then snowball in intensity, amping up the distress as each scene progresses, which then leads to a harrowing climax. And again, thanks to that grim storytelling, the film won't leave you in some joyous mood. It's a satisfying conclusion that maintains its haunting aura, making it more memorable than expected. And I can see how some may feel a bit cheated, though, at the finale. There's considerable buildup with an ending that is understandable, but maybe not as frightful as some might hope. I mean, I think it does the story justice, but I can also see how it can be a frustrating letdown as well. So overall, The Damned is an eerie and chilling folk horror, using the extremely isolated surroundings to complement building dread and fear. With haunting imagery and tricks through light and shadow, this patient thriller delivers mounting anxiety that blurs the line between superstition and reality. While the repetitive moments can have a dulling effect, and some may be frustrated by the conclusive ending, the ride to get there is frigid, suspenseful, and ominous. There's no sex or nudity, some profanity, and then a bunch of violence. I give The Damned 4 out of 5 couches. So are there any folk horrors that you love to watch? Let me know what they are in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me.